And for more on this, we turn to Anita Kumar. She is a White House correspondent for McClatchy News. Anita, thank you for joining us. Are these new sanctions on these 17 individuals the extent of what we could see from the Trump administration in response to Khashoggi's death, or could there be further action taken?
Sure, there could be further action taken. And, you talked about the pressure on the Saudi government. There's also pressure on the Trump administration to do more and to push back on Saudi Arabia for, they have done something, but there's still a big difference in what the Saudi government says and what the Turkish government says on what happened and who was responsible. So there's a lot of pressure on the Trump administration to do as much as possible.
And Anita, the president is wavering on whether to blame the Crown Prince. Meanwhile, National Security Advisor John Bolton says the audio tape that we've heard so much about does not implicate Mohammed bin Salman. And that opinion, however, is at odds with Republican Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chairman Bob Corker, who said the evidence overall does point to him. So is the administration willing to let him off the hook, looking for an excuse to let him off the hook, and why?
Right. Well, we definitely haven't heard President Trump or his, staff blame the Crown Prince or the Saudi government. They say there isn't evidence, as you said. It's unclear whether they have all the evidence, though. And as you mentioned, several Republicans on Capitol Hill are saying there is enough evidence. The Turkish government says there's enough evidence to say that the Saudi government was involved. But remember, this is a country, Saudi Arabia is a country that President Trump has, had good relations with. This was his first visit. His first foreign visit last year was to Saudi Arabia. He does not want to blame them if he does not have to, and so they have kind of kept that, they have not gone there yet. But what's important about the sanctions that they talked about today is there's someone on that list who's very close, a close advisor to the Crown Prince. So, the Crown Prince obviously is not on that list, but there are very, high-ranking people on that list, including the person who's also in charge of the consulate there in Istanbul.
So, Anita, just to switch topics now, the president attacked the Mueller probe on Twitter this morning, claiming it's a total mess, found no collusion, has been threatening witnesses, but provided no evidence to back these accusations. Do we know what brought on this tirade right now?
We don't. I've actually talked to some folks who are, suggesting that perhaps the president has either gotten some new information from his own attorneys, that he knows something is coming or, about to come out, or perhaps he's gotten some information from his new acting attorney general. The president has periodically gone on Twitter and talked about the Mueller investigation. It's generally when something is in the news. We haven't heard that anything is happening, but there's a lot of speculation that, that there are additional charges coming, or that he might be wrapping up in the coming weeks or months. So, it could be any of those things. None of his accusations were really that new, though. He said some of those same things over and over again. Right,
but the timing is curious because, as you know, last week the president appointed Matthew Whitaker as his acting attorney general. So what concerns does this raise in light of how the president is attacking the probe today?
Right. Well, you have seen people that are critics of President Trump worried that he is getting information from his new acting attorney general, that the acting attorney general could be trying to rein in, the investigation, right? So remember, he fired Jeff Sessions as his attorney general. He'd been really critical of him for using himself from the Russian investigation, and now this new acting attorney general is there. He's the lead person. He's he could be getting information from him. He could be doing all sorts of things that we're just not privy to.
And the president, of course, once again pointed fingers at Democrats. Are these accusations against his opponents something that Matthew Whitaker is likely to pursue?
The accusations as the president had, it's really unclear. It's because he's just been in this job a few days. Remember, he was the chief of staff to Jeff Sessions, but he's never been, working directly for President Trump in this capacity. It's, and we don't know a whole lot about how he will go about this job. Will he take some of these things that President Trump does a couple different things that we've learned about in the last couple of years, and even his spokesperson Sarah Sanders says this. Sometimes he's actually directing his staff to do something, and sometimes he's just venting. And when asked about this, Sarah Sanders says, well, the staff knows which is which. So it's sort of unclear. Is he directing the Department of Justice to actually look into this, or is this just one of those times that he's venting? Now, he has, looked for investigations into the investigation several times, and nothing's really come of that.
There does seem to be some sort of division, though, within the Republican Party on how to react to Whitaker's appointment and how to react to the Mueller probe at this moment, because, as you know, Republican Senator Jeff Flake says he will now not vote to advance any judicial nominees until a bill protecting Mueller gets a vote. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says that isn't necessary. But has the White House responded to the possibility of legislation?
They have in the past talked about this, and they say, obviously, they kind of say whatever, the Senate leader Mitch McConnell wants to do is up to them, but they don't think it's necessary, that he's not, there's nothing in jeopardy there, that they don't have to act that way. What Senator Flake did was very interesting, because even though we don't talk about it a lot of the times, getting all these judicial appointments through the Senate has been a huge victory for President Trump. He has put through so many names, and Leader McConnell has gotten these confirmations, and this is a very important piece of, for McConnell and for President Trump. So this is kind of hitting them where it hurts. It's a very strategic and smart thing to do, and we'll have to see how they react to that. But you're exactly right. Mitch McConnell pushed back hard and said it just wasn't necessary. So until leadership changes their tune, I just don't know that anything is going to happen.
Senator Flake, a rogue once again. All right. Lastly, the president claims everything is running smoothly, but we are expecting a major shakeup in the administration. Can you tell us what the mood is at the White House right now that midterms are behind us?
Sure. For a while there, it was all about the election. And now that the election is over, it is all about sort of what's next. The staff had expected for a while that there were going to be significant staff changes after the election. And obviously, we saw that the Attorney General was fired right away after the election. And there are all sorts of rumors and talk about other people, the DHS secretary, the chief of staff. Perhaps he'll change staffing there. And really, it could be anyone. I have talked to a number of people that are close to the White House who basically say everyone's at risk, really. He could make a decision to fire or change out people all over the place. So it's just sort of purgatory. People are kind of waiting to see what's going to happen, who's going to be next, how will it happen? Will it happen on Twitter? When will it happen, and that sort of thing. And this is kind of an awkward time. It's the lame duck Congress. The president is getting ready to go away for the holidays a little bit. He has a foreign trip coming up later this month. So there's a lot of things going on, and no one really knows whether to expect something to happen next week or next month.
Anytime now. Anita Kumar, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure. Thank you.